On April 26, 2025, the eyes of the world turned to Rome. News outlets from every continent broadcast live, headlines in dozens of languages flashed across screens, and millions tuned in to witness a moment that would be etched into history. On this day, Pope Francis, the 266th leader of the Catholic Church, was laid to rest in the heart of the Vatican, surrounded by the faithful and the curious alike. His passing, at the age of 88, marked the end of an era defined by humility, compassion, and a relentless pursuit of justice. Leaders from across the globe, presidents, prime ministers, royalty, and spiritual figures, arrived in Rome, joining an estimated 400,000 mourners who flocked to the Vatican to pay their respects. This was not just a funeral, it was a global event, a testament to the profound impact Pope Francis had on the world during his papacy. The square overflowed with people of every background, their faces reflecting sorrow, gratitude, and hope. The funeral was a powerful reminder of the global reach of the Catholic Church and of the unique ability of Pope Francis to touch lives far beyond its traditional boundaries. People from every corner of the earth, united in their faith, mourned the passing of their spiritual leader. Pilgrims traveled thousands of miles, some making the journey on foot, others by plane or train, all drawn by a sense of shared loss and reverence. The sheer number of attendees underscored the universality of his message of love, compassion, and unity. Flags from dozens of nations waved in the breeze, a visual tapestry of the world's diversity gathered in one place. It was a reminder that even in a world often divided by politics, religion, and culture, there are moments when humanity can come together in shared grief and remembrance, finding solace in one another. Pope Francis, known for his humility and unwavering focus on the marginalized, had left an indelible mark on the Church and beyond. His actions spoke louder than words, reaching out to those on the fringes of society and reminding the world of the power of simple kindness. He had championed interfaith dialogue, building bridges between communities and encouraging understanding among people of all faiths. He advocated tirelessly for the poor and the environment, urging the world to care for both the vulnerable and the planet we share. Again and again, he called for a more just and compassionate world, challenging leaders and ordinary people alike to act with courage and empathy. His funeral was not only a time to mourn his loss but also to celebrate his life and legacy. Songs of hope and gratitude echoed through the square as people remembered the joy and inspiration he brought to millions. It was an opportunity to reflect on his teachings and to consider how they might continue to inspire and guide us in the years to come. Many left with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to carry forward his message. The world watched in silence as the funeral procession wound its way through the heart of Rome, passing ancient monuments and modern crowds alike. It was a solemn and moving spectacle, a fitting tribute to a man who had dedicated his life to serving others, regardless of their background or beliefs. The outpouring of grief and affection was palpable, a testament to the profound impact Pope Francis had had on people from all walks of life. Strangers embraced, united by a common sense of loss and gratitude. As the funeral cortege made its way through the ancient streets, it felt as though the entire city had come to a standstill, united in grief and remembrance. In that moment, the world paused to honor a leader whose legacy will continue to shape hearts and minds for generations to come. The funeral itself was a grand and somber affair, held within the hallowed halls of St. Peter's Basilica. This sacred space, revered by millions, became the focal point for a ceremony that would be remembered for generations. The sense of history was palpable, as if the very walls of the basilica were bearing witness to a moment of profound significance. The basilica, a masterpiece of Renaissance architecture, was filled to capacity. Every pew was occupied, and the aisles overflowed with mourners from all walks of life, dignitaries, clergy, and ordinary faithful alike, each drawn by a shared sense of loss and reverence. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting an ethereal glow on the mourners gathered below. The shifting colors danced across the marble floors, illuminating faces streaked with tears and hope, as if the heavens themselves were offering comfort. The air was thick with incense and the sound of Gregorian chants, creating an atmosphere of profound solemnity and reverence. The haunting melodies echoed through the vast space, their ancient tones weaving together the past and present in a tapestry of faith and tradition. The ceremony was steeped in centuries-old tradition, a testament to the enduring legacy of the Catholic Church. Every gesture, every prayer, every ritual was performed with meticulous care, honoring not only the departed pontiff, but also the countless generations who had come before. Bishops in their mitres and cardinals in their scarlet robes added to the grandeur of the occasion. Their presence, resplendent and dignified, underscored the unity and continuity of the Church's leadership through the ages. The ceremony was a powerful reminder of the historical weight and global reach of the Catholic Church. Representatives from every continent stood side by side, a living testament to the Church's influence and the universal nature of its message. For centuries, St. Peter's Basilica has served as a stage for some of the most significant events in human history, and Pope Francis's funeral was no exception. The echoes of past ceremonies seem to linger in the air, connecting this moment to a long line of papal history. Adding to the weight of the day, this was the first papal funeral procession through the streets of Rome in over a century. The city, ancient and eternal, became a living witness to a tradition revived as the cortege made its way through avenues steeped in history. The procession, a solemn and moving spectacle, wound its way through the heart of the ancient city. The route passed by landmarks that have stood for millennia, their stones silent observers to the unfolding of history and the passage of faith from one era to the next. Thousands lined the streets, their faces etched with grief, to catch a glimpse of the cortege as it passed. Some clutched rosaries, others waved flags or simply stood in silent tribute, united in mourning and remembrance. The sound of the funeral bells tolled throughout the city, their mournful peal a constant reminder of the loss that had been suffered. The bells echoed from church to church, weaving a thread of sorrow and solidarity through the city's ancient streets. The procession was a powerful symbol of the connection between the papacy and the city of Rome. It was a living bridge between the spiritual heart of the Catholic world and the city that has been its home for centuries. For centuries, popes have ruled as both spiritual and temporal leaders of the city, and their funerals have always been occasions of great public mourning. The outpouring of emotion from the crowds reflected the deep bond between the people and their pontiff. The procession of Pope Francis's coffin through the streets was a reminder of this long and storied history, and it served as a powerful symbol of the enduring legacy of the Catholic Church. As the cortege made its final journey, it carried with it not only the memory of a beloved leader, but also the hopes and prayers of millions around the world, united in a moment of shared humanity and faith. Tributes to Pope Francis's life and work were woven throughout the ceremony, echoing through the vast halls of St. Peter's Basilica and resonating in the hearts of those gathered from every corner of the globe. The air was thick with reverence and gratitude as mourners, ranging from world leaders to ordinary faithful, came together to honor a man whose influence had reached far beyond the walls of the Vatican. Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, Dean of the College of Cardinals, presided over the funeral mass with solemn dignity, his voice steady as he led the congregation in prayer and remembrance. His homily touched on the key themes of Pope Francis's papacy, mercy, compassion, and a commitment to the poor and marginalized. He spoke of a shepherd who never turned away from those in need, who saw Christ in the faces of the suffering, and who challenged the Church to be a beacon of hope for all. He spoke of the Pope's tireless efforts to build bridges between people of different faiths and his unwavering belief in the power of dialogue. Pope Francis, he said, was a man who reached across divides, fostering understanding and peace in a world too often marked by conflict and division. In a particularly poignant moment, a simple wooden casket, adorned with a silver cross, was carried into the basilica. The silence that fell over the crowd was profound, as all eyes turned to the humble coffin that bore the remains of a man who had lived simply, even as he led the world's largest Christian community. This humble casket, a stark contrast to the grandeur of the surroundings, was a testament to Pope Francis's humility and his belief in living a simple life. The juxtaposition of the plain wood against the ornate marble and gold of the basilica served as a powerful reminder of his teachings on modesty and service. Inside the coffin, alongside the traditional papal vestments, lay a sealed envelope. This small, unassuming detail held great significance, representing the traditions and rituals that connect each papacy to the next. This envelope, a tradition for papal funerals, contained a rogito, a short biographical document summarizing the life and accomplishments of Pope Francis. The Rogito is a unique testament, capturing the essence of a pontiff's journey and the milestones that defined his service to the Church and humanity. The Rogito, read aloud during the ceremony, served as a final testament to the life and legacy of Pope Francis. Its words painted a portrait of a man who had dedicated himself wholly to the gospel, to justice, and to the dignity of every person. It recounted his humble beginnings in Argentina, his rise through the ranks of the Jesuit order, and his eventual election to the papacy. The document recalled his early years as Jorge Mario Bergoglio, a young man shaped by faith, family, and a deep sense of social responsibility, who would one day become a global spiritual leader. The document highlighted his many accomplishments, including his efforts to promote interfaith dialogue, his advocacy for the poor and marginalized, and his tireless work to address the climate crisis. It spoke of his encyclicals that inspired millions, his calls for peace in troubled regions, and his unwavering voice for the voiceless. However, it was a personal note, placed inside the coffin, that truly captured the essence of the man. Written in careful script, it was a private message meant to accompany him on his final journey, a symbol of the deep personal connections he forged throughout his life. The note, written by a close aide, spoke of Pope Francis's courage, his boundless love for the poor, and his unwavering commitment to interfaith dialogue. It reflected the admiration and affection felt by those who worked closest with him, and the profound impact he had on their lives. It was a simple and heartfelt tribute to a man who had touched the lives of millions around the world. From the slums of Buenos Aires to the halls of the United Nations, his message of love, justice, and mercy resonated with people of all backgrounds and beliefs. The note, a testament to his humanity, served as a reminder that behind the grandeur of the papacy lay a man of deep faith and compassion. As the world bid farewell, it was clear that Pope Francis's legacy would endure, not only in the pages of history, but in the hearts of all those he inspired to walk the path of humility, service, and love. Amidst the solemnity of the occasion, a significant political encounter unfolded. Donald Trump, the former US president, and Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, found themselves together in the confines of St. Peter's Basilica. The two leaders, whose paths had crossed on the world stage before, engaged in a private conversation. The meeting, though brief, was laden with significance. It came at a time when the world was still grappling with the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, a conflict that had deeply concerned Pope Francis. His voice, a consistent call for peace and diplomacy, had resonated throughout his papacy. The presence of these two leaders at his funeral, a place of peace and reflection, offered a glimmer of hope that dialogue, even in the most unlikely of circumstances, was still possible. Zelensky, visibly moved by the occasion, later described the encounter as a very symbolic meeting with constructive discussion. The details of their conversation remained confidential, but its occurrence alone sent ripples through diplomatic circles. Some commentators saw it as a sign that perhaps, even in death, Pope Francis could continue to be a force for peace. The image of these two men, often at odds on the world stage, engaging in dialogue within the hallowed halls of St. Peter's Basilica, was a powerful one. It served as a reminder that even in the midst of global conflict, there is always room for diplomacy and the possibility of finding common ground. The encounter, brief as it was, offered a glimmer of hope and served as a fitting tribute to Pope Francis's legacy as a peacemaker.